And we're live. So, good afternoon. We're having a cup of tea with Liam Ingram, and I have my best dad in the world ever mug. So,
Really?
massive win, massive win.
I've got to make do with the plain one, that'll do.
Well, you're not dad yet, Liam. So there we go. So today we're doing a tea time session, just talking about some Google AdWords stuff, more specifically about picking the right sort of keywords, what keywords are, what the different match types are. And we're joined by Liam Ingram, who's a pay-per-click specialist. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do at Tillison?
Yeah, I'm Liam Ingram. I'm the pay-per-click specialist here at Tillison. I deal with probably about 40 client accounts, managing them across numerous PPC networks. Um, I do management and we obviously do coaching and training as well. So quite busy.
Okay, yeah, indeed. And how long have you worked with Google Ads, Liam?
Probably approaching 3.5 years now. So quite a
Okay,
long
so
time.
yeah, so like Anthony we were talking to before on the first tea time chat, a bit of a veteran like him and
Yeah.
like me, yeah, so quite a while. So it's undergone quite a few changes in that time.
It's
Um,
well, it's every week kind of is getting to now. So
yeah, yeah, and
definitely
there
got on
there
top
have
of it.
been some quite big changes in keyword match types actually, which is what we're
Yeah,
talking about today. So we're talking about picking keywords and the different match types there are, and obviously on negative keywords as well.
yep.
So let's start with why is this such a problem for advertisers? Why should we care about this?
The big problem is with keywords, a lot of people don't know the difference between them, and the issue is you can end up with certain keyword match types that are just wasting so much money on stuff you're not actually bidding on yourself, like that you're not
Okay.
even bidding on that keyword. So it's really important to get them right so you can save yourself a lot of budget.
Okay. So a lot of it's about wasted budget, but
Yeah,
also attracting the right sorts of
yeah,
traffic as
making
well.
sure the traffic you're getting is the best quality because with AdWords now it's so competitive. What you bid on has to be bang on for it to work. You can't get away with now what you could 3 or 4 years ago. So
Sure. Okay. So let's just explain about the basics of these different match types of keywords then. Maybe we should just take a step back from that actually and start with what we mean by a keyword and what we mean by a query.
yep,
So I tend to use a keyword is what you bid on, so that's in your AdWords account, and the query is what a user types into Google. So a query is, okay, you go to Google, you type something in, and it matches a keyword potentially that an advertiser is bidding on. So
yeah,
those are the two differences. One is a keyword, that's what we bid on, and a
the
search
query.
query does or doesn't match that keyword, depending on the match type, depending on how much you bid, etc., etc. So
Yeah,
query and keyword. So why don't you give us a rundown of the different match types?
yeah. Let's do that now. Uh, there's four types of keyword match types available. The first one is the default one you get with an AdWords campaign when you just put a keyword in and press post. This is what you get. It's called a broad match keyword.
Okay.
Um, the broad match keywords can match with other words. So if we take the example here of red shoes, we've got, you could match with red girl shoes, for example.
Hmm.
It can also match in any order. So you've got how to polish red shoes, and then it can also match differently to the different order of the word. So shoes to match a red dress, that would match. It doesn't have to be red shoes in that order.
Hmm.
The biggest issue to advertisers with this match type is when it's a broad match keyword, Google can contextually change the wording of it. So you might not actually uh, show your ad for terms you've put in. So, an example of this is we've got here red boots because Google's contextually changed shoes to boots. So
Okay.
what you might find in the long run here is you're just spending a lot of money on stuff you don't even know you're bidding on, which is obviously scary for a lot of advertisers because you know you want to be in control of where your budget's going and on the relevant stuff. I mean,
Sure. Sure.
you've got another example of red football boots as well.
Yeah.
that could match.
So effectively, what we're saying there is the word red and the word shoes, or crimson, or shoe,
Yeah.
or boot, or whatever. They generally they have to be in the search query, but they
Mm,
don't have to be in that order. And it
no.
doesn't specifically have to be red. It could be crimson or claret.
Yeah.
It could be, instead of shoes, it could be boots, and they could be in
And
any
yeah,
different order.
anything loosely relevant to red and shoes,
Yeah. So
because with
it
Google
could
are
be
very loosely relevant.
Red magazine subscription uh,
Yeah.
from Boots, the chemist,
Yeah.
which is completely irrelevant and out of context of a pair of red shoes. So
I mean, yeah, I've seen examples instead of shoes for terms like heels and stuff like that. It's just your trainers. There's
okay,
just so much Google matches. It's just you need to be in control of it.
okay, and the more you bid, the more likely that it is to happen as well. In my
Yeah,
experience, is that what you found?
yeah, because Google always goes with the money. So if you're bidding more, then Google's just going to try as often as possible to match you with anything it can, so you get
Okay.
clicks.
So broad match, use them potentially, but you just
No,
take away a lot of
whenever
care with them.
possible, yeah, whenever possible, stay away from them. But we're
Okay.
getting into that.
Okay. So
So
let's move on to the next match type then.
yeah, the next match type is what's called a broad match modifier. Um, this works pretty much exactly the same as the broad match, but what you do is you put a little plus sign in front of each word. So you'd
Okay.
have plus red and plus shoes. The difference this makes is when they're modified, you don't allow Google to contextually change the wording. So
Okay.
you force somewhere in the search has to be red and shoes as the example.
Okay.
You can't match for the trainers, football boots and things like that. So it's much more specific. And if you're
Okay.
going to use abroad, it should be that term.
Okay. Um, so just putting a plus sign in front. So if you put
Yeah.
plus red space shoes, uh, does that work, or is that slightly different?
Well, no, you would have if you had plus red and space shoes on its own, the red would have to show every time, but you'd still be leaving yourself open to shoes matching with other terms.
Like boots, for
Yeah,
example.
boots, football
Yeah.
boots.
Okay.
I mean, the only time this is good is if you had a location campaign. So if you had, saying you wanted to target Hampshire and you had, I don't know, football boots, Hampshire. So you had plus football, plus boots, and then Hampshire on its own.
hmm
You would hope Google would then contextually match Hampshire to, areas in Hampshire, so like Portsmouth, Southampton, etc.
Okay.
But
But
in general,
we're
yeah.
relying on Google making
Right,
that
yeah.
contextual connection. Okay. And there isn't a list
Which is
really anywhere, is
exactly
there,
what I do.
where there isn't a list anywhere where we could say, well, what does Hampshire match with? We just have to make an assumption and let Google do its thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but let's say that is a much better type of broad if you're going to bid on the broad.
Okay, so just to summarize those, each word, ideally, you probably want to modify each word in your keyword that you're bidding
Yeah.
on with a
I
plus.
mean, it's really easy to do as well. So,
Yeah. Unless you want it, unless you want a particular word in there to
contextually match.
to
Yeah.
have that expanded match, I think
Yeah.
that Google calls it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's broad match keywords, which are anywhere in the search query and can also be expanded to mean different things. And then
Yep.
we've got modified broads where it works the same, except the plus stops that
Yeah.
expanded
It has to be
match.
the exact word. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay.
The next type of keyword available is the phrase match. The phrase match works differently to the broad. That in the sense that it can't match in any order or with words in between. I mean, somewhere in the search has to be red shoes in that order. So, you wouldn't be able to match with shoes that are red, for example,
Okay.
or red girl shoes. But you can match before or after the main word. That's what the phrase match is. So you would match with buy red shoes or red shoes online, as long as there's something that matches before or after, the main word.
Yeah. Okay, so the phrase itself, the two or three or four or five words,
Yeah,
that's intact as a phrase,
yeah,
hence why it's called a phrase match. But you could still have words in the search query before
that's
or
great.
after that phrase.
So
Yeah,
you do
so
leave yourself open to a degree, but it's not as much of a risk as the broads because they don't have to be in any order.
Okay. Okay. So a bit safer than the
Yeah, they're a bit
broad.
safer, but they're still, you still have a risk to a degree.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. I understand that. So what's the next one?
Um, the final type of keyword is the exact match, which pretty much is what it says on the tin. I mean, it's exactly what you type in, apart from plurals or misspellings.
Okay.
So, it has to be red shoes or a misspelling of red or shoes. I mean, so
Hmm.
it's obviously a lot more specific than the other types because you're in complete control of what you're matching for.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
these in an ideal world, you want to be using these as often as possible if there's traffic available.
Okay. So that means the search query essentially matches exactly the
Yeah,
keyword that we're bidding on, and,
exactly. The
and
exact
nothing
query
more.
is what you've got. Yeah.
Yeah, except it might, depending on the option you select, it might match plurals
Yeah, you could
and
match,
misspellings is the other thing as
yeah.
well, of
I
course.
mean, to be honest, I think that's in general pretty good because
Hmm.
in the old days you'd have to put all the plurals and you can end up with a massive list for
Hmm.
stuff that you know means red shoe. So I think that's a good option of having there. But
Sure.
you know,
Okay. So why not have an account? Why not have an AdWords campaign that only uses exact match keywords then, since those are the best ones? Why would you
the
use
trouble is,
phrases and
but
broads?
because when it depends completely on the traffic that's available. If there's not enough, if there's not enough traffic available, just having an exact match won't work because you cut out all the other, variations there might be. So, for example, if I typed in buy red shoes, you wouldn't match if you just had the exact match. Yet when
Okay.
there's limited traffic, you need the broads and the phrases to pick up what you might miss from the exact matches. That's
Okay,
why.
so one downside of that is you would have to deeply research every single possible thing that someone would have to type in, and you'd have to bid on every single
Yeah.
exact match variation of those terms. You'd have to go,
Mm.
size 12 red shoes, size
Yeah.
11 red shoes, size 9 red shoes, red shoes, size 4. You'd have all of those variations
Yeah.
in your account. You'd
It's
have to
better
think of
to.
every single permutation, and you'd have to bid on all of them. And there are going to be lots of those where Google hasn't indexed them
Yeah,
because
and
there
they
isn't
do.
enough search
Mm.
volume on what we call the long tail search terms.
Yeah, and they do eventually get indexed. You're not going to be there. So.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Good stuff.
Um. Yeah.
So we talked about phrase and broad matches matching some irrelevant traffic because of words before or after. So make red shoes would still
Yep.
match a phrase or a broad. So how do we stop ourselves our campaign wasting budget on that?
The way you would do that is through something called negative keywords.
Okay.
Um, Negative keywords are effectively anything you don't want to show your ads for. So,
Okay.
an example here, if you only sold girls' red shoes, you would negate the term boys because obviously you don't want to match boys for a girl shoes campaign. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So anything that's irrelevant, you just remove from the campaign.
Hmm.
So this is really useful because this is a really good way to streamline the traffic so you're only getting the quality stuff in, but even having the broad and phrases, it works quite well.
Yes. Okay. Um, so we can exclude, and do you then put kind of you put minus boys red shoes in there, do you, or do you just put minus boys, or how does that work?
It's easier. I mean, there are types of negatives. They work fairly similar to normal keywords, so the broad phrase and exact
Hmm.
matches.
Yeah.
Um, so if you wanted to exclude boys from everything, you just do the broad of boys. But if you wanted to include, a negative phrase match, so saying it was online red shoes, for example,
Hmm.
you would put that as a phrase match because obviously you
Okay.
don't want to take the risk of having negating red or shoes from
Sure.
the campaign because obviously you won't start showing at all.
No.
So
Absolutely. Okay. Um, so we need a mixture in an account of exact and phrases and broad keywords.
yep.
How does an advertiser know if they have this problem? How do they find out if they're suffering, if they're wasting budget?
The easiest way to do it is through something called a search term report.
Okay.
Um, Let me a second. If we, I've got a training account here, A search term report is effectively the exact thing, the exact search query the person's typed in before they've clicked your ad. So it's very useful information of seeing how well the campaign's performing. Because if you've got a load of irrelevant queries, you need to change something.
Okay. So
Um,
we've got in there in the AdWords account what keywords we're bidding on, and we can see those and we can
yep,
modify them. The search terms report is the
tells you
user's
what's actually
queries
matching. Yeah.
that have actually triggered a match and triggered a click, or impressions of your ads as well. So it might not just be that you've wasted clicks, but also that you're getting impressions for search terms that are irrelevant as well. And we don't
Yeah.
really want those, even though they don't cost us anything. We don't particularly want to show for irrelevant
No.
searches because that affects our click-through rate and quality score, and that's
Yeah.
for a whole other day. That's a
Yeah.
whole other cup of tea, a
Yeah.
really big one on quality scores. But yeah.
But how it works with the search term report, how to get there, it's really easy, and it's probably one of the most common questions I get from people. How do you actually see your search term reports?
Mhm.
What you simply do is go into the campaign, click keywords. So it's here we've got the red shoes example, and then just go details, and then search terms all. Obviously, we don't have any keyword data in there because it's a training account. But if this was a
Sure.
live account, you'd get a long list of examples there.
Okay. And
We've got
that's for whatever date range you've got selected.
Yeah, I mean you
So
can choose
30
whatever
days,
date
60
range you want.
days,
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just keep it at 30 for there, but I mean
Yeah.
an example from a live account. Sorry. So this is from a live account search data here. You can see here we've got the keywords getting married Las Vegas and wedding Las Vegas. So this is obviously a man who does weddings in Las Vegas.
Okay.
This is the exact queries that have matched his campaign, even though
Okay.
he's got these keywords.
So
So
those are broad keywords that you've got
yeah,
in the
broad.
top
So
there.
this is
Yeah.
why I say don't have unmodified broad keywords,
Sure.
because the first one, getting married Las Vegas, has matched with Las Vegas marriage license.
Okay.
Obviously, in the context of what he's doing, that's not relevant.
Okay.
I mean, and it's spent £25 in a certain date range.
So we're thinking there about the intent
Yeah,
behind the
the intent
search.
the intent of the search. Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
so the real question as an advertiser is, can I convert that into an inquiry,
yeah.
into a lead, into a sale? And the answer is, with the query that's matching that, is no, not really, or a very low percentage of the time.
You should always be thinking with your keywords, what could potentially match that's not relevant. Whatever you add
Mhm.
in, think, is this bang on or could it match something else?
Yes.
So to be fair, with this getting married Las Vegas, you can see why the clients added that in,
Hmm.
because obviously it's people interested. But as it's an unmodified broad, it's matching with other words and stuff. And other words that aren't relevant. So marriage license is just someone obviously wanting to better run it themselves. I mean,
Sure.
the biggest example as well, wedding Las Vegas has just matched contextually with Las Vegas, and
Sure.
that's just that can match so much. That's not what he's doing. He only does the weddings.
Sure.
As you can tell, that's a whole other can of worms, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a session-based match as well, which is
Yeah,
slightly different.
slightly
Maybe
different.
we should just explain what a session match is.
Yes, I mean the session match is basically contextually from the site.
Okay.
So
So
I mean,
this is where someone has searched for a keyword that the advertisers bid on before, and
yeah,
has later come back and searched for Las Vegas. But because they've looked
yeah,
before at a keyword that is relevant, then subsequently searched for Las Vegas,
yeah,
this advertiser's ad has shown again. But that only happens with broad match keywords, is my
yeah.
understanding. So
Because like I say,
if you only have phrase and exact match keyword in your account, those session-based keywords will never, those session-based matches will never happen. It only happens with broad keywords.
yeah,
So
that's like I say, it goes
there's
back to you
yeah,
having the
there's some value there, but not necessarily enough for us to
no,
spend some money on there.
yeah. But let's just show you an example of what happens
Mm,
when you have these unmodified broads in there. It's just
sure.
you want all the budget to go on the relevant stuff like Las Vegas weddings, the exact match,
Yeah,
and
so it's I mean so it's interesting there looking at that data that is actually spent more on uh, irrelevant terms or less relevant
Yeah,
terms.
which is
In
quite
terms
common.
of money spent, it's spent more on that than it has on the stuff that's actually really relevant. So we've wasted
Yeah,
over 50% of the budget.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's quite a common thing you see as well, is you will
sure.
end up wasting a majority on the irrelevant stuff.
Okay. So in terms of so we've covered the keyword match types, and we can see how that causes an issue. We've covered broad match keywords, and that potentially they can cause huge problems. We've got modified broads that kind of tidy those up a little bit. Then we've got phrases which are much more accurate, but still could potentially match with more relevant things and
Yep.
potentially some irrelevant things. And then we exact, which are absolutely spot on. They're exactly what somebody's typing in,
Yeah.
give or take. And then negatives we can use to exclude irrelevant searches which potentially match broads or phrases. And then we've looked at how we access the search terms report as well. So, I mean, you're running. I don't know how much it is these days. It's around £3 million worth of spend on
Yeah.
Google. You do this day in, day out. What is best practice? What should people generally be doing in terms of match types? What keywords should they be bidding on?
I would say if there is significant search volume on your keywords, I would say bid mainly on phrase and exact matches because they're the safer bet and you know there is traffic available on them. And you can, match with the phrase match before or after the search term. So you're getting the other terms that are coming in.
Mhm.
If if your product has limited search volume, I would say start with broad modifiers just to see, what traffic is available, and if pick out the best stuff, add them in as phrase and exacts, and you can gradually turn off the broad modifiers when you feel you've got all the traffic available for your area. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
would be my best practice.
So I always think of it almost like a big sponge, and you're kind of gradually wringing out the
Yeah,
valuable
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
and filtering it through to,
I
to
mean,
really
broads
focus
are
on that
quite good
stuff.
in that sense because it does tell you the traffic that's out there, but
Okay.
the safe option is phrase and exact matches in general.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. All right, Liam. Awesome. I'm going to enjoy my cup of tea. Just to say,
Yeah.
folks, that next time out, we'll be spending some time with Adam Futer, who's our SEO specialist. So he's got some tips and some discussion to have with us. That's in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, enjoy your tea, Liam.
Cheers.